My name is Michelle and I have a almost 3-year-old boy who has level 2 autism. His name is Tide and he's a beautiful, happy boy, and I just wanted to make this series to help parents who speculated about their child maybe having autism, weren't sure where to start. Okay, so in part 1, I spoke about a lot of signs and I realized that I needed to make another video because there just wasn't enough time. I had so much stuff to cover. It's currently Monday afternoon. It's freezing cold here in Sydney. I've got both my older 2 children in school and Tide's in daycare today, and I've got a couple of hours before I have to go off for work. I spoke about in my last video how Tide slept really badly since he was 4 months old. And I just wanted to expand on that. To be more specific, he has always had a really hard time putting himself to sleep. We have to lie down with him. I'm still breastfeeding him and I breastfeed him to sleep every night. Basically, when he wakes up during the night, he needs to have one of us with him, whether that's us lying in his bed or him coming into bed with us. He comes into bed with us every night. So yes, can't put himself to sleep. That's part of the separation anxiety. He wakes up and he really struggles to regulate his emotions and calm himself down. And obviously we don't want to make him cry, so we assist him back to sleep, which is fine. Another early sign of autism is being in their own world. We always say he's in his own world. We'll try and say something directly to him and we have to really spell it out.
Hi. Hello. This is your first time on the train?
Problematic at first.
This is my second one.
For him to follow instructions is quite hard. I have to really break the instructions down and emphasize and be specific to really get down into his level so that he can understand what I'm asking him to do.
Open this one. Oh, good boy. And we pack away. Look, pack away here. Pack away here. Tide, look, pack away here. Spoon here. Tide, look, spoon goes here.
Yeah.
Here.
On his second birthday, we did a little, I think we were in lockdown during that time, so we had a little mini celebration at home. We did a cake, sung happy birthday to him, just our little family. And I mean, he had no idea what was happening, like no idea what was going on. He didn't even realize that we were celebrating anything, and it felt a little bit, I guess, strange, like we're doing it for ourselves, because he just had no interest.
Come on. Hey. Open it. Let's let him do the rest. Come on, open. Let him do the rest. We'll figure it out.
It's big.
Slow goings.
I know, right? Let him do it, guys. Get that. That's it. Good boy. That's it. Figuring it out. Let him do it. Let him do it. Put that one down. Tide.
His development, overall development, has been slower than that of my other 2 children. So generally, when your children start talking and developing, they start to really take off, and then they go from this baby to this mini human, and you can communicate with them and they can understand you well. But with Tide, it's always just felt like he's been stuck in this kind of baby stage. Everything developed slow with him. He walked later than my other 2. He crawled later. He just hit all of his milestones later. I think he started walking at about 13 or 14 months, which is not late typically, but both of my children started walking before they were 1, so he was later than them. When he started walking, and for a while, and he's getting a bit better now, but he had a really unsteady gait. He would walk almost pigeon-toed and he would fall over a lot.
Good boy. Hey. There's mommy.
If someone would come up to him, they'd say, oh, hi, what's your name? And even now, he just, like, he has got no idea. He won't say, I have to say, oh, he's got autism. He probably won't tell you what his name is. He was initially diagnosed with GDD, which is global developmental delay, but then that was retracted after his formal assessment. He's not globally developmentally delayed across all of the areas. He's just delayed across some of the areas. On that, with him being in his own world, he babbles a lot to himself. And that's great because he started babbling later, because babbling, I guess, is the stage just before talking. To this day, he's almost 3 and he babbles a lot. It's really sweet.
P-E-T-E-K. Do you want for a quiz?
Are you eating cakey? Can Mummy have some cakey? Can Mummy have some cakey? Oh, thank you. Nom, 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 nom. He generally likes being alone. He would just prefer the company of himself. He likes to be in the same vicinity, in the same room as his carer, that he just likes to play on his own. He will join in and he will interact with us. And as I said, we've done a lot of OT and that's really helped to get him to interact with other people, but generally it doesn't faze him if kids are playing a game. He never, ever wants to join in with what the kids are doing. And the only time he'll want to play with the kids really is if he wants to play something that revolves around him, like chaseies. He wants them to chase him or tickle him. It took a while for him to develop, you know, showing a shared enjoyment in playing, and I guess developing that joint attention between himself and whoever he's playing with. So if I start playing a game with him, he would just play by himself, would not look at me, would fixate on what he was doing. He wouldn't, it's like I was not there. Whereas now, you know, he's getting a lot better with that. If we're playing with blocks, you know, I'll start prompting him to count the blocks and he'll start counting them. It's a slow process, but he does show some sort of joint attention. But in the beginning, it was very hard to play with him. And he would only bring things to me or show me things when he wanted help. So he wouldn't, if he built something or found something, he wouldn't be so happy and you know, come up to show me. He just wouldn't show me. But if he needed help with something, that's when he would bring me things. So repetitive behavior, that's a big one. His repetitive behaviors have changed a lot. So when I was first Googling, you know, autistic behaviors of toddlers, the main thing that I would see come up on Google and YouTube is, you know, kids lining up toys. He definitely lined up blocks and cars for a little bit, but it was very minor. It wasn't a big interest of him. The main repetitive behavior that he had was, for a while, he was opening and closing doors and just slowly, not banging them, but kind of opening them and then slowly closing them and just watching, like really intently watching the door as it was closing. In the shape sorter, he'd want to put the same shape through the same hole over and over and over. He wasn't interested in playing with other shapes. He would only want pink textures. He wouldn't want to color in with no other textures. And initially he didn't want to color in with textures at all. He just want to hold them, like carry them around, which is kind of an abstract way of playing with a toy. Another abstract way of playing with a toy was he would spin, you know, he'd hold a toy car and just spin the wheel rather than actually playing with it. He plays with them now, but around the 2-year-old mark, he would just spin the wheels. He had a big obsession and fixation on water. Outside in the summertime, he'd leave the tap running a little bit for him for a little while and he'd just splash and play with the tap. Everywhere there's water, he just wants to play with it. He's mesmerized by it. It's really calming for him. Another fixation that he had for a while was going on the swing. So every time we're at the park, he would run straight up to the swing and it didn't matter who was on it. He would cry and he'll just play with the same toy over and over. He'll just play, you know, push. One time he was pushing a dolly in a little toy car and over and over and over. And he'd do that for, hours if he could. It was harder for him to develop those role play skills that most children develop. Say, you know, feeding a baby with a toy bottle. He does that now, but around the 2.5-year-old mark, he didn't do that. So I spoke about in my first video separation anxiety. The funny thing with that is that he had massive separation anxiety at home, and he still does. He still wants to be in the same room as us all the time. But when he was out and about, he would just run off and would not even think about us. I mean, he'd go missing in a heartbeat if we weren't careful. He was just so fearless. He'd run onto the road and laugh if we get him in trouble. It's risk-taking behavior. He would never understand that he was doing the wrong thing. He just didn't faze him.
Bodhi, can you get him? Bodhi. Bodhi, get him.
He has quite drastic big meltdowns. It's just part of who he is, and we learn how to manage them and help him through them. And he doesn't have that many meltdowns, but when he does, it's very hard to get him out of that meltdown zone. It's almost like he has this tunnel vision. He really has blocked out the rest of the world, and he could be having a meltdown because he wasn't given an ice block. And then I would give him an ice block and he would be crying and swat me away and close his eyes and just have no idea that I was trying to give him one. And I'd be like, Ty, I'm giving you one, it's right here. And he was too far gone in that meltdown zone. It takes a lot of physical strength to get him out of the meltdown zone. And another thing that he does when he's feeling overwhelmed is, I mean, I know a lot of autistic children will block their ears like this. Ty's never blocked his ears. I don't think that auditory stimulation is quite a problem for him, but for him, it's more the visual stimulation. If he's in a place where he doesn't want to be, or if he's doing something he doesn't want to do, he'll shut his eyes and squint his eyes like this, as if I don't want to be here.
Your teeth. Come on. Come on. I have to brush your teeth. I have to brush your teeth. It's okay. We're gonna brush your teeth. Ready?
Another repetitive behavior that Tide has is he likes pushing a scooter around rather than actually riding the scooter. His gross motor skills aren't that developed so he can ride a scooter yet, but he'll stand on the other side of the scooter and push it around and just around and around the backyard. He'll just do that for a long time. He tends to not do it as much anymore, but he did do it for a good 5 months. When Tide hurts himself and I say, it's okay, he'll repeat that back to me. He'll say, it's okay, it's okay. That parroting, that copycatting. If you watch this video because you think that your child might be on the spectrum, I hope that you get some sort of closure, because I know that from the moment of speculating whether your child is autistic to actually having them diagnosed can be quite a while. For us, it was about 6 months of waiting from when we first went to the doctor about it to when we had the diagnostic assessment. So it is quite a long time, a lot of uncertainty. Yeah, I'm excited to do more videos and explain our journey. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see, then subscribe to my channel and I will be uploading more content.